What's up, everybody? Good to see you, or good for you to see me. Today we're gonna very quickly talk about a video that got popular of Ben Shapiro getting spanked in a debate. The camera just jiggled because it's face tracking me so that I can kind of, move around, but we're gonna try to make sure that doesn't happen so much. I'm trying out different setups because my setups suck. Let's dive into this video. It is an abortion debate video, and we're not going to get into all the different things about abortion and the different debate points. We're going to talk about something else very specific that's happening in this video. So let's dive in.
What is your view on the fact that bans on abortion do lead to about a 21% increase in pregnancy-related deaths when you hold that your views on abortion and abortion bans are based in the fact that you have a desire to protect life and save lives because every human being is made in God's image?
Because I think we're going to have a fundamental disconnect here. The entire abortion debate...
Oh, really? You're going to have a fundamental disconnect there, huh? This is the first thing that throws up a red flag for me. Ben Shapiro tries to establish that they're going to have this fundamental difference in what they're talking about. In a conversation like this is the first clue that you're not talking to someone who actually cares about what you're saying. They just want to prove their point. And he goes on to try to prove his point right after saying, we're going to have a fundamental difference.
The entire abortion debate is centered on whether indeed an unborn child or a human life with potential is in fact that, or if it is just a ball of cells. If you believe that there's inherent value to a fetus, then I am seeking to preserve that life as well as the life of the mother. If you look at the raw numbers in terms of, for example, in the United States, 1 million abortions a year, let's assume that laws banning abortion in the United States were universal, those 1 million abortions go away tomorrow. There's an effective law, the abortions go away, but there's also a concomitant increase in the number of women who are seeking back alley abortions, for example. There's a concomitant increase in the number of women who are dying in pregnancy-related childbirth. That would not be 1 million. That would be a lot lower than 1 million, because 1 million women out of 1 million women, that would suggest that 1 million abortions would, if brought to term, 1 million of those women would die. That's obviously not true.
What the heck is this guy ever talking about? And I promise we're getting to the point, but it's important context to hear him talk about what he thinks for what's about to happen, because you can sort of get the feel here for how he thinks a lot of things without thinking anything at all at the same time. So let's keep going.
So for me, an abortion prevented is a life saved. And you have to weigh that against what you're talking about, which is the life of the mother when it comes to a pregnancy. Now, even as a fan of pro-life position, and I'm a deeply pro-life person, I still have an exception for the life of the mother. So if the life of the mother is endangered by a pregnancy, then abortion would be legal. That's true for every pro-lifer in the United States, by the way, including the most pro-life people, including me.
So he tries to throw in a little bit of hey, we've got this common ground, by the way. I'm a deeply pro-life person, but I still have an exception for the life of the mother. Don't you think that we're on the same page here? He's trying to play to some of that piece of I'm not such a horrible person. I do make some exceptions. I'm not as crazy and as extreme as these other people out here. I mean, come on. Most of us have exceptions for the life of the mother when it comes to this debate. Again, not the point of this video, but still important to hear. Let's continue.
So, I think that in order to make the argument that you're making, you would have to assume that there is no cost to abortion remaining legal in terms of lives lost.
Okay, so you're doing it on a utilitarian basis.
I'm doing it on a lives saved basis, yes.
Well, yeah, so a utilitarian basis,
sure.
Right.
So she points out that this is a utilitarian argument, and he sort of is no, it's more lives saved, but then they kind of agree that lives saved does mean utilitarian, and usually that's a pretty good example of what a utilitarian would want to do, save the most lives possible. And Ben, like so many other people in our country right now, let alone across the world, says that a fetus is fundamentally the same as a person already born, either because it is already fully a human inside the mother's womb, or it has the same potential to live a full life like the rest of us. All of this makes sense and is par for the course when it comes to abortion debates. But this is not why we're here. Why we're here comes in this next part.
So then if you look at comprehensive sex education, which the US does not have, a lot of people in rural areas don't have any form of sex education. You yourself have said, and I quote, on a general level, I don't think that teachers should be talking about sex in the classroom with kids at all at any age. It's shown that comprehensive and correct sex education reduces rates of abortion and teen pregnancy. So then if your goal is to save lives, why do you not support comprehensive sex education? Because it seems like your goal is something else.
No.
So using his utilitarian argument, after she had him agree to the fact that, like, yeah, this is a utilitarian argument, which he did agree to, she makes the point that the research suggests that comprehensive sex education helps save lives any way you cut it, including from the abortion perspective. So she's like taking a step back, not just focusing on abortion, but kind of looking at the holistic view. So using his framework, she points all of this out. Now watch this next part.
Why do you not support comprehensive sex education?
Because
it seems like your goal is something else.
No, because these first of all, I would like to see the studies that you're citing in support of that.
That study is the University of Washington.
Okay, pause. He demands, first of all, for her to cite her sources after she gave that kind of a little spiel there, fully expecting her not to have them. And to be fair, this is probably a situation he's been in a lot, where someone comes up to him impassioned by the opportunity to support their views. And when he asks for their research, they don't have it. This is a little tactic. I'm sure he's built doing talks like this for however long. This can give the illusion that now he is in the right, and as though the other person has hastily come to conclusions that they can't actually support. The subconscious battle that he thinks he's going to win here is the one where now the audience also believes that he didn't come to his conclusions as hastily as that person. But this is the problem when you're just fighting battles and not really listening to what people are saying. Eventually you will reveal your hand like this. This was nothing but a power play by Ben Shapiro, and he should be fucking embarrassed. For those paying close attention, this is the kind of shit him and others do all the time. It's really just how they speak. But when you have a fast-talking, gunslinging whatever like Ben and like others, they've become so adept at it that it takes more energy to parse through everything that they've said than it's worth giving. What makes this clip so is that it is glaringly and gloriously obvious that he's doing this. And we get to laugh in his face all together because we know this is what he does. So, backing up, he lays the groundwork trying to establish dominance in the conversation by dictating the subconscious rules the audience is playing by. She immediately plays by these rules and gives him what he's asking for. She cites her source. If he was an honest person, he would have said something at the very least like, oh, I need to look at that more closely. A better interlocutor would more likely dive into that point and discuss it further. I will say these formats probably don't allow for that much expansion into an idea, but red flags, these are all red flags. Because what a sniveling liar does, and what Shapiro has chosen to do, is change the fucking rules mid-sentence and try to maintain the upper hand, something which he lost when she cited a credible and well-known source.
Okay, and there are plenty of other studies in the United States that suggest essentially no difference in, for example, unwed pregnancy in the United States.
Now hang on, Ben. That's not what you just asked for. That's not what you said you were looking for. She cited very specific and important information that should be persuasive for someone who is looking at the facts and trying to come up with the best answer. He tries very lazily to discredit everything she just said in the minds of the audience, especially by saying there are studies that are opposite of what she just said. Ben Shapiro is not playing a facts game. He's not playing a truth game. He's playing an entertainment game, one where the online buzz that's stirred up is more important than any of the actual substance of any conversation like this. One where owning your opponent is winning, and the subconscious battles that I've been describing a little bit in the minds of the audience is king above all else, including above actually saving lives. Because that's what we're talking about, right? saving human fucking lives? Potentially the life of your best friend, your mother, your son, your grandfather, or any potential future children you may or may not want to have. That's what's online here, right? Ben fucking Shapiro? Because it sure doesn't look like it from where I'm sitting, bud.
Can I have those studies?
What can you have them? You can look at the pregnancy rates in California, New York, Massachusetts.
I just gave you my reference.
I mean, I'm happy to email you references if you so wish.
She brilliantly catches this backstep by Ben and plays one of the best moves I can think here, which is to turn the game back on him. She asks for his studies. He backpedals further, not expecting a young, small woman, so feeble in the minds of right-wing cucks like Ben Shapiro, to play 4D chess on the board he himself laid out. He squirms like an oily pig, and it's so wonderful to see. When he finally stops backpedaling and says he doesn't have any fucking references for her by saying, "I'm happy to email you references," the audience realizes what game has just been played and who has come out on top.
To say, I mean, this does happen to be a topic where there is social science on both sides. I'm not saying that the study that you're citing isn't valid. I'm just suggesting that there is a difference in data methods, and I'm suggesting that the single motherhood rates in the West with comprehensive sex education are miles higher than they were in, say, the 1950s when there was not comprehensive sex education. So obviously that has not militated against the amount of unwed pregnancy happening in society. So the idea that the cure-all here is comprehensive sex ed.
He tries to save it with more backpedaling and throws out more stats without citing any sources, I might mention. And then he sets up a new game, the do this and I'll be on your side when you very clearly won't be able to do this now and I will never actually listen to you anyway game.
If you could prove to me, let's put it this way, if you could prove to me that comprehensive sex ed did result in lower levels of abortion, lower levels of unwed pregnancy, and that it was values neutral, comprehensive sex ed, in the sense that what it was actually teaching is, here is how to prevent a pregnancy without ending it in abortion, then I actually don't have a huge problem with that. It depends on the age at which you're teaching kids. There are other issues that I have with comprehensive sex ed, including the fact that what is taught is not the simple biology of sex and how to prevent a pregnancy. Comprehensive sex ed simply goes a lot further than that, and I have serious moral problems with that.
Another red flag, that you're talking to a liar. She lands the cherry on top.
Seems like you're just trying to force women into motherhood, not save lives.
And
That's so interesting that he says if it's values neutral,
that it was values neutral.
I didn't catch that until on my watch right now where he's saying, it needs to be values neutral, which is so interesting because the right wingers and the conservatives and so often the Christians are the ones injecting their values into the facts and into the truth and into the classrooms. So, in short, Ben Shapiro sets up lazy little arguments to try and win useless battles instead of facing the real hard truths of life. And it makes me smile when sleazebags get a taste of their own medicine. Even though he will most likely continue being a shitty person who pretends to care about humans and life, while really only caring about himself.